Hello, my name is Riddhi, and today I'm going to be talking about two communication concepts: interpersonal communication and emotional intelligence. And I'm going to talk about how these two communication concepts have really changed the way that I view communication now on a daily basis. Starting with interpersonal communication, I used to think that communication was actually just mostly about how clearly I explain my words, but now I understand and think about that. It really makes me think that it's not that simple. It's not just words. There's so many more aspects to it. There's things like tone, speed, and even reactions that also change the way the meaning is shaped completely. And I feel like when I think about this myself, I realize that I actually speak quite quickly when I understand something well and I already have like a good idea in my mind and I just want to convey it as soon as I can. And I've noticed that in my group work, I would just explain my point and just assume that everyone around me is on the same page as me, which was obviously not true. And I feel like after learning about this concept, that I've learned that this isn't always true, and people can hear the same thing but still interpret it indifferently, and that's not necessarily wrong. But sometimes it causes communicate confusion because we don't know how to communicate with each other clearly. And I feel like because of this, I've started to change how I'm communicating and be more deliberate with the way that I act. And a few of the things that I've started to do is I slow down a little bit. I ask more questions to clarify what they really want me to understand, and also take into account the way that they're delivering the message and not slowly just the message that they're trying to say. And I feel like this has helped me a lot to understand what people are trying to communicate with me, and also for me to communicate to other people much better in my daily life. So, the second concept that really stood out to me was emotional intelligence, which is essentially basically an understanding and a managing of your own emotions while also being aware of and being mindful of the emotions of the people around you. And I feel like this concept really stood out to me because as stressful months at university where I have like multiple assignments due at the same time, I get really overwhelmed and overly stressed. And I feel like I notice that at these times when I'm really overwhelmed, I tend to just rush everything and get everything done at the same time. And obviously, I'm not ending up becoming productive at all, and it really affects me a lot. But I realize that in those moments, my communication also changes as well as my decision making, and I become like much more reactive and less patient without even noticing it. And I feel like it was really important for me to change that, and this concept really helped me understand that better. And I decided to make more changes to it now. And a few of the changes that I do now is that most of the times I just take a break, I just take a pause before reacting to anything. I check how I'm feeling, I really tone into my emotions, and I try to understand how others around me are feeling as well, especially in group situations. I've realized that sometimes if my teammate is quiet, or if they're hesitating, or if there's a difference in their tone and different communication styles, it doesn't always just mean that they're not engaged in the conversation or they're not listening to me. It can just be stress or different ways of how they process things, and that's not necessarily wrong. But I feel like this concept has really helped me understand that much better. And I think that's really important, and it's really changed the way that I communicate and understand people as well on an emotional level on a daily basis. Comes to application, I think that overall these two concepts have really made me more aware of the way that I communicate, and not just that, but also about how I'm coming across to other people around me. And I feel like it's really important for me to understand that things can be interpreted differently, especially in my future career of media and marketing. I feel like this awareness is really going to help me create much better content and much more communication, which is much clearer and much more intentional to the audience that I'm trying to cater, as I'll be able to understand how different types of audiences interpret different types of messages a lot differently than other types of people. And I think that's really going to help me connect better content that connects better with my audience as well. And I think that I'm really grateful to have explored these concepts to understand that.